what's up, my little Tattle Tells? Listen, the jury... Oh, I'm giving you guys a Tasha K. Cardi B update. Listen, the jury has been given the instructions. We might actually have a verdict today, but I want to give you guys a quick update. Y'all, something's going on. I know for the last 2 weeks, all the reporting has said how Tasha K's lawyers were garbage and trash and this and that. However, multiple reports from the courthouse have said that's not the case. Multiple people have said that Tasha K's people actually did a good job of proving their case, just like Cardi B's people did a good job of proving the case. Now, if you guys don't know, right? I just want to run this by you guys real quick, just so you know. The one thing was, Cardi B's team gave a doctor's note. If you watch my live, I'm going live at 8 o'clock with Lily Young and attorney Jess Jonda. Lily Young was actually in the courthouse. Jess Jonda is a lawyer, so we can bounce questions off of her, right? Really good acclaimed civil lawyer, right? So get this, right? The one odd thing that struck out everyone, the jury is going to have to decide which Tasha's K team may have dropped the ball. I'm just going to give you a quick rundown, right? In and out, so you guys know what's going on. The defense did not counter the medical records. They didn't bring an expert in. So here's the thing. Cardi B's team got a note from a doctor. I think there was a problem with the note because the name on the doctor's note was an alias because the doctor wanted to protect their identity. That doesn't mean that the doctor's note is not usable, but I think there was a little bit when they're like, wait, who's the alias on there? Now, right? What happens after that? Well, usually what the defense does is bring in their own expert witness to say, basically challenge the validity of the doctor's note or the doctor's findings. When it comes to the STD they were talking about, multiple doctors say that you have to be in an active breakout to actually figure out whether you have it or not, because it has to be you're on medication and it's suppressing the viral load, or you don't have an active breakout and the viral load is low. It's almost impossible to detect even with a blood test. So a negative doesn't mean you don't have it. It just means the viral load might be too low. Now, it can also mean you don't have it. However, we're looking at this from the point of plaintiffs and defense, right? The defense is supposed to, I would think, throw everything against the table and push back. So it's very odd they didn't get any type of medical testimony, either written or on the stand, in which the jurors could look at it on the table and say, okay, so we have this person saying yes, we have this person saying no. Who do we believe? That's the jury's job, to decide what is true and what's not. The fact that they have nothing on the table pushing against, that lets you know that the only people they could believe is Cardi B's team. But let's move on to something. I do have to say that multiple eyewitnesses said that the plaintiffs, Cardi B's team, did a good job of proving, of giving evidence for their case. But get this, they also said Tasha K's team did a great job of pointing out the holes in their theory. For one, the husband and wife thing, when everybody's just like, oh my God, they perjured. I was one of them too. They were competing against themselves. Why would they do that? This is a betrayal. Listen, they are trying to make sure the jury does not treat them as jointly and severably liable to the company. What that means is the same thing as marriage. When you get married, under the eyes of the law, right, you are one. You cannot be separated from it. And anything that happens in the marriage, you are jointly responsible, from the debt and from the profit. Cardi B's team was trying to make them found jointly and severably liable, saying, and this is the alter ego concept, literally no difference, right? The court finds that there's literally no separate identity between the individual and the corporation. It's almost like piercing the corporate veil, but just a little bit more complicated. If they do find them jointly and severally liable, that means anything that Tasha K judgment that she gets against her will have to not just be paid out of the company's funds, but it'll have to be paid out of her personal funds, right? Again, this is going to jury. The defense did a good job of pushing back. We're going to go over the details tonight at 8 p.m. on my channel. Make sure you're there. But this is why they were testifying against each other. Our first assumptions that we have was true on my channel. It was a legal strategy. It's a big legal gamble. Let's see if it worked. Because here's the reason why it might have worked if they had more employees in that company. Tasha K and her husband were both playing like, it was you. You know that meme of the Spider-Man pointing at each other? That's what they were doing. They were both trying to act like They didn't know what the other person's positions were, and they weren't really involved in the company. The only problem is they were the only two people in the company. So if you're the only two people in the company, who's running the company? It kind of does defy logic. It's a shame, because had they just had a few more employees and put them on in the company, right? But it takes a lot of trust. They might have been able to complete beatness. Now, I don't know if the jury is actually going to rule against them on this. This is what they're trying to do, but it's kind of hard to argue that the company is a separate entity and you don't know what's going on in the separate entity when there's only two of y'all and y'all are talking all the time. Again, who was running the company? This is where that whole thing of likability comes into it. Now and again, Lily's going to come to us and talk about how the jury reacted to Tasha K. I know the first few days wasn't really the best thing. However, the day before yesterday, Friday, she did redeem herself. Monday was a little rocky, but it looks like she might have pulled it off. If the jury is so inclined to take, not pity on her or mercy, but if they are so inclined to look at the facts in a way that they can actually favor her, she might get it. But again, it's been a rough road. Let's move. The hardest thing that I always said that it was going to be for them to prove is the intentional infliction of emotional distress. This has such a high bar that you need to reach. It needs to be unclear. It needs to be clear and without a reasonable doubt. It's a high bar to reach. It is unclear whether Cardi B's team actually made that, because for one, usually comments made to the general public are not actionable under intentional infliction of emotional stress. If that's the case, and some of us could sue season 3 or whatever it's on of Narcos, or every time there's Silence of the Lambs comes on and you're really, really distressed, you could actually sue the picture company, the movie company. But that wouldn't happen because it was made to the public. So it was not particularly directed at you. Tasha K is trying to argue this, but there's more, right? What she needed to improve. It needed to be intentional or reckless. Now listen, they have her in their sights with that. She admitted on tape that she intentionally did it. And at the very least, it was very reckless what she was doing and what she was saying. A normal person under the circumstances would have reacted badly to what she did. But where is Tasha K's ace in the hole? I'll tell you, right? Remember everybody was saying, what does Cardi B's tweets and Instagram and stuff have to do with this case? This is about Tasha. It is, but there's a level that you need to actually measure on. Just listen, I don't care who wins at this point. I hope both ladies feel like justice is served, right? That's the whole point of going to court. But I will say from a legal point, it's really, really fascinating, right? Because here's the thing where Cardi B is going to have trouble proving. Extreme and outrageous behavior. Extreme and outrageous behavior has to be something so shocking to the system. So shocking to the system that it shocks the soul. And it can make you sick. You have a violent physical reaction. You have a violent mental reaction. The only thing is, if you're trying to say that what Tasha K did was so violently shocking that it shocked Cardi B's system, how do you explain that Cardi B at times also got down in the mud and also said very vulgar things and also said very shocking things about to the mother of a dead child, calling people burnt roaches? Again, this does not mean that she was not hurt by Tasha K. This does not mean that Tasha K is right or wrong. I'm just giving you the facts that the jury is looking at. Don't be in the comments arguing, oh, you're so biased. I'm just telling y'all what the jury is looking at. Now, you might not like it, and you might get mad. But baby, that ain't changing the fact that the jury is looking at this. So everybody that wants to be in the real world, let's get into it. So now we see why Tasha K's team was fighting so much to get that evidence in of Cardi B acting a fool, right? Not to say that it makes Tasha K wrong or right, but it's one of those things, just because I'm wrong doesn't mean you're right. If it needs to be outrageous and shocking, they're proving you weren't a little church mouse. You talked to people like this. So how could somebody talking to you like that be shocking to you? It's like me cursing up a storm and then you guys coming back to me and saying F, D, and this and that. And I'm like, oh. And you're like, this can't be extreme and shocking because you, my dear, also curse. So why are you acting like this is the first time your little virgin ears have heard anything? also need to prove that there was severe emotional distress. Now, it used to be in the past with severe emotional distress, you had to show that physically something was wrong with you. They changed that to just be like mental. But you also have to show where you had damages, where what this person said and did literally stopped you from making money. The only thing with that is, and we're going to have to look at the evidence, I don't think Cardi B stopped working around that time. I think she pushed through. I think she kept all her concerts. She kept her commitments. She did this. She did that. Her and her husband reconciled. When you look at the possible damage it caused you, and that makes a difference, again, this is something they're going to have to prove, and it's unclear on whether the jury is going to side. So while she does prove, one, intentional and reckless, and, the emotional distress, yes, but severe enough it actually interfered with your life so that you could not earn a living and marital relationship, they made the argument. See if it lasts. Last but not least, the extreme and outrageous behavior. How can you call somebody else's behavior extreme and outrageous if you engaged in the same level of outrageousness? Now, Cardi B's team could argue, okay, fine, I made a few tweets. I said some stuff that was incredibly cruel and insensitive, but this woman waged war on me for months at a time. And when I asked her to stop, she still waged war. That's their argument. We'll see if it holds. Anyway, you guys, meet me on, that's the thing. The jury's going back to deliberate. If the jury gives its ruling before 8 p.m., check on my channel. I will do it. In the meantime, you guys, set your reminders. 8 p.m., we got Lily Young, eyewitness, unbiased reporting, and we also got Jess Jonda, the acclaimed civil and criminal attorney, so she can tell us going and coming where Cardi B and Tasha K's team made good points and where they were just lost in the woods, all right? Listen, my little Tattle Tells, I'll see you. Before we get to the last point, if you guys are loving my analysis, if you guys have been loving what's going on my channel, don't forget we're going to be live at 8 p.m. We got Lily, the red lipstick counselor. She is live in court, unbiased reporting. And I know it's hard to get with this trial, but it's unbiased reporting. And we also have Jess Jonda, acclaimed civil and criminal attorney, so she can tell us everything that's going on, where people are dropping the ball, and she can even decode the jury instructions and also the evidence. You guys, 8 p.m. on the channel. Set your notifications. Now let's get back into this mess.